During the beginning months of trading on the Schwab account, I would perform an exhaustive fundamental analysis on each stock before deciding to purchase it. Now, the key word here is fundamental. Later on, because of the nature of the senior project, I pushed myself to learn technical analysis, but I'll talk about this later. This video will describe some of the fundamental analysis skills I had already learned prior to starting the senior project. I will use the company United Health Group as an example of a company I thoroughly analyzed before purchasing its stock. Now, to begin my research, I find the most generic information of United Health Group. I specifically examine the company's industry, market capitalization, its prior year's revenue, the number of full-time employees it has, and the stock's percentage of institutional ownership. Then lastly, I briefly look at the stock's performance in the last 3 years to ensure nothing drastic has occurred. Next, I analyze the company's income statement. I look at the company's total revenue and ensure that it is at a relatively steady rise since the last 3 to 5 years. If the company passes this analysis, and in this case it does, I look at the company's major costs. In this case, its medical costs and operating costs. I try to interpret what the costs mean for the company, and that the company isn't taking too many costs to satisfy its steady rise in revenue. After analyzing the company's income statement, I compare the aforementioned figures to a counterpart competitor company. In this case, CI is Cigna Medical Group. As you see in the charts, United Health Group's total revenue flux is at a relatively constant rate, while its competitor, Cigna, is pretty volatile. This shows promising signs for me to purchase the stock. Similarly, United Health Group shows to be less volatile in increasing total operating expenses and net earnings, which also means the stock is stronger to purchase than its biggest competitor. I perform a similar analysis on the company's balance sheet. And once again, I perform a similar analysis comparing the two figures of United Health Group and Cigna. And once again, I perform a similar analysis on the company's cash flow statement and compare it to the company's biggest competitors' figures as well. Finally, I perform an analysis on whether it would be worthwhile to invest in the industry itself, and in this case, healthcare. If I decide the industry is worthwhile to invest in, and in this case I do, I finally determine whether it's worthwhile to purchase the stock, taking into account all the numbers I have analyzed before.